Hey guys, so today for day 10, we're doing 5.5, the y-intercept of a line. Today's learning goal is I can describe the meaning of the y-intercept of an equation. So the y-intercept of a graph is the y value at which the graph crosses the y-axis. So this needs to go in your Cornell notes for your vocab. The y-intercept is simply, again, where the y crosses the y-axis. Graph the equation y equals x plus 3. What is the y-intercept of the graph of the equation? So now we're going to graph. First, we want to identify what is our y-intercept. So remember, your equation is y equals mx plus b. Our m value is a number in front of x, which in our case is 1. Our b value is the value that stands alone, which is 3. So in order to graph this, remember your b value is simply your y-intercept, and your m value is simply your rise over run. So let's first start by graphing our b value, which is at the value of 3. And then we're going to go ahead and do our rise over run from our y-intercept. So rise 1 over 1. Rise 1 over 1. From our our y-intercept, we're also going to go the opposite direction. So we're going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, so that we can form our graph. So your graph will look just like this. Hopefully your lines are straighter than mine. For each graph or the graph of each equation, find the y-intercept. So for our y-intercept portion, again, remember, it's where the graph crosses the y-axis. So our y-intercept in this case is at -2. For the next graph, B, our graph crosses the y-axis at 2. And then for C, remember, the y-intercept is the value that stands alone. So we have -3 as our y-intercept. The second one is simply +3. The line models the total amount of snow on the ground around a snowstorm. What is the y-intercept of the line? What does the y-intercept represent? What is the slope of the line? What does the slope represent? So we have two sets of questions here. First, what is the y-intercept line? What does that y-intercept represent? Let's focus on that one first. So if you look at your graph, remember the y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis. Well, we cross the y-axis at 3, so therefore our y-intercept of the line is going to be 3. And what does the y-intercept represent? Well, if we know that y is our snow height and our x value represents the hours, this tells us at the beginning of the start of snow, we started with 3 inches of snow. So it tells us that the start of snow began with 3 inches. The second question, I'm going to highlight that in green. What is the slope of the line? What does the slope represent? So if we look at our graph here, remember, slope is simply rise over run. So if we calculate our rise to our next portion, our rise is up 1 and our run is over 2. So for our rise over run, we would have the value of 1/2, which means that is my slope. So 1 over 2 is the slope. Well, what does the slope represent? It represents the fact that at every moment in every 2 hours, our snow increases by 1 inch. So every 2 hours, our snow increases by 1 inch. All right, guys, that's it. It's a really short lesson today. If you have any questions, we'll go over some problems tomorrow. See ya.